All right, so get this. Imagine, like, small businesses, right? But they're not just surviving, they're actually thriving. And they're doing it all thanks to, get this, AI.
Yeah.
And it's happening right now in Connecticut in the cannabis industry.
Wow.
Yeah, and we're going to dive deep into this. It's the Connecticut Cannabis Small Business Alliance, the CCSBA.
Okay.
And it's not your typical business group. I've been, like, looking into it.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. It's set up as a nonprofit, a 501c3.
Right.
And the way they've kind of woven together the education part of it, the community, and then the actual, like, direct business support is a really unique approach.
Yeah, and their website highlights that. Like, they have member spotlights, they're doing advocacy work, they have events. I mean, they've even got a fundraiser coming up on November 3rd at Illicit Brewing Company.
Oh, cool.
Free food, drinks, raffles.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah, it sounds like a good time for a good cause. But it is more than just a good time, and we'll get into that.
Right. Because it's, when you look at it at first glance, all these different activities, the events, the advocacy, everything, they might seem kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
But they actually fit together, like, really well. They're creating this whole support system, so it's not just about giving small cannabis businesses in Connecticut tools and saying good luck.
Yeah.
They're really trying to empower them to succeed.
It's like they're building a network, not just a toolbox.
Exactly.
Which is amazing. And speaking of tools, we got to talk about AI. Right?
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to, like, have cool tech, but it's how they're using it. It's all about leveling the playing field.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, imagine if you're a small business owner and you suddenly have access to the same kind of advanced tools and information as, like, the biggest players in the industry.
Right.
It completely changes the game.
Yeah.
It really democratizes access to these resources.
And they actually say that on their website. They're very intentional about it, that their AI resources are for everyone, not just the big guys. And it's not just about business tools either, right? Like, they're involved in community engagement. They're doing advocacy work. They even work with the Cannabis Ombudsman.
That's right.
Now, I don't know, for people who aren't familiar, like, who is that? What does the Ombudsman do?
So the ombudsman is basically like a neutral party.
Okay.
They help, resolve disputes, address complaints, that kind of thing within the cannabis industry.
Oh, interesting.
And they're really important for making sure everything's fair and transparent, especially for the smaller businesses, because they might not have the resources to, like, handle a big legal challenge on their own.
That makes sense.
Right.
So the CCSBA working with them, that makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
But it goes even beyond that. They're actually trying to influence legislation, which is really interesting to me. And they even have, like, resources to help people write to their legislators or even craft public testimony, which I think is so cool.
Yeah, yeah. And a really good example of that is their advocacy against HB 5150. So this was a bill that, if it had passed, it would have meant much stricter licensing requirements for those local CBD stores.
Wow.
Yeah. And a lot of small businesses would have probably been forced to close. They were already, facing challenges.
Right.
So the CCSBA, they stepped in. They advocated for their members, for the industry as a whole. So they're really committed to shaping, like, a more fair cannabis landscape.
Yeah. It's one thing to say you're about community, but they're really taking action. They're living up to that nonprofit status, for sure.
Absolutely. And you see that commitment to action in their public activism hub.
Okay.
So they have templates, guides, all these things to help people write, really compelling letters to their representatives. It's all about making sure their voices are being heard on these cannabis policies.
It's about empowering people, giving them a voice. Now, this is all super interesting, but I know some people listening might be thinking, like, oh, okay, this is great, but what does this have to do with me? I don't own a cannabis business. But it does matter. Like, even if you're not running a dispensary, their work impacts everyone.
Right.
Because they care about small business success. They're all about local community empowerment and just advocating for positive change in general. It has a ripple effect.
Yeah. And that's what I think is so compelling about what they're doing. It's not just about this one specific industry succeeding. It's bigger than that. They're investing in the well-being of the whole community.
And doing it in really cool and innovative ways, especially when it comes to AI.
So sure.
Because this isn't just about, like I said, having the tech. It's about giving small businesses tools that they can actually use to grow and compete.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not just about, giving them access to data or just automating tasks. It's deeper than that. It's about actually giving those entrepreneurs the tools that can help them be smarter about their businesses, help them make better decisions and see, real results.
And they show that like with the member spotlights.
Yes.
I love that they do that. They highlight like the human side of things,
Exactly.
Because, there are actual people behind these businesses. So.
Right. It's not just numbers on a screen. It's real people with real stories.
Yeah. It's so cool. And it's like, they're highlighting the everyday people who are building these businesses from scratch.
Absolutely. And they get it, right? They understand that, like, behind every successful business, you've got someone who's really passionate, who has a story.
Right.
And so by doing these spotlights, it's like you get this glimpse into what it takes, what their journeys have been, the challenges, what they've overcome.
Yeah.
And I think that's so valuable, especially for, someone who maybe is thinking about starting their own business.
Totally. It's about connecting with other people who understand, like, the unique challenges of being in this industry, especially in Connecticut, right?
Exactly.
And speaking of connecting, they've got that fundraiser event coming up.
Yes.
The one at Illicit Brewing Company.
Yes, that's right. November 3rd.
What can people, expect if they go?
Oh, it's going to be great. It's always such a good time to really understand the importance of, actual face-to-face interaction.
Yeah.
Networking, getting to know people.
Yeah.
So it's not just about raising money.
Yeah.
Right? It's really a chance for people to connect, to share ideas, maybe even start new partnerships or something over some free food and drinks. So
sounds fun. Sounds like my kind of networking. But before we go too far down that road, I wanted to circle back because you mentioned it earlier, the nonprofit thing. How does that impact their work, and what does that mean for their members?
That's a really good question. So being a 501c3 basically means that their main goal, their mission, isn't about making a profit.
Okay.
Right? It's about serving the community.
Mm-hmm.
So any money that they do happen to make, it goes right back into, the programs, the resources, their advocacy work.
So it's a win-win for everyone.
Exactly.
Which I love.
It's a really great model.
Because businesses get the support they need, the community benefits, and then they can just keep doing good work.
Exactly.
Pretty cool.
And I think it shows, what their vision is for the cannabis industry in Connecticut, long term.
Yeah.
That it's equitable, it's successful, and it's really connected to those communities.
It's like they're thinking ahead.
Yeah.
Like really strategically.
Yeah.
But let's talk about one of the coolest things, because this is like, wow.
Yeah.
The member AI mainframe. Now, this is not just your typical software here.
Oh, no. This is next level.
Yeah.
This is like a whole suite of AI tools.
Okay.
And it's designed to do so much, help them streamline operations, make better decisions. And ultimately, it's about helping them, be more successful. They have tools for everything, like whether you need help with social media posts or, like we talked about, writing, really strong public testimony. It's like having a whole team of, experts at your fingertips.
Again, it goes back to that whole democratizing thing, right?
Exactly.
Giving these small businesses the tools that they need to compete.
Yes.
But the one that that really caught my eye, and maybe it's just like the nerd in me, was the Cannabis GPT. I don't even know. I'm not a cannabis expert, but that sounds like something out of like a movie.
Right.
It sounds so futuristic.
It's pretty wild. It's like having, imagine a cannabis consultant, but they're AI, and they're available 24/7.
Whoa. Okay.
So it's really amazing.
So if I am a dispensary owner, right?
Yeah.
And a customer comes in and they're like, oh, I'm looking for something to help with anxiety.
Right.
It can, Cannabis GPT could actually help me figure out, okay, based on, current research, these are the strains that might be good. These are the products that might be good. Like that.
Exactly. Because it can analyze the different strains, what their potential benefits are. It can help you understand all those complicated cannabinoids and terpenes and all that, and even personalized dosage recommendations.
Wow.
It takes out all the guesswork.
That's amazing.
Which is incredible, especially for people who are new to the industry. They might be a little overwhelmed. This gives them the tools, the knowledge to make smart decisions.
It's you're giving people not just the technology, but you're helping them use it to actually solve problems in the real world.
That's
and
right.
Make a more equitable, more successful industry for everyone involved.
Yeah, and that's really the goal.
Now that's amazing. The Cannabis GPT sounds amazing, but what other innovative technologies, AI wise, are they using to to help their members.
So another one that I think is really, really cool, and again, it goes back to that advocacy piece, is the public testimony writer, GPT.
Okay.
And I think this is such a cool tool because, I think about myself even, you can be really passionate about an issue.
Yeah.
But trying to figure out, how to write to your representative or write public testimony, it can feel very overwhelming.
It is. Even just figuring out, where to start, who to send it to, all of that.
Exactly. And that's where this tool is amazing. It walks you through step by step how to communicate effectively, how to get your point across, make sure your voice is being heard.
So they're not just advocating for their members, they're
giving them the tools to advocate for themselves.
Giving them the tools so they can advocate for themselves.
Exactly.
That's empowerment.
Right.
That's so cool.
And it shows, I think, a really important part of their mission, which is, it's not just about the business, right? It's understanding that change happens, on a lot of different levels.
Right.
And part of that is giving people the tools to make their voices heard in those spaces where decisions are being made.
They're not just building businesses, they're building a movement.
Exactly.
That's really what it sounds like.
Yeah, towards this more equitable, more successful cannabis industry in Connecticut.
And who knows where that could lead, right?
Right, it could spread.
Yeah, it could totally spread. It's really inspiring to see, how the CCSBA is giving their members the power to not just be a part of this industry, but to really shape the future of it.
Yeah. They're not just along for the ride, they're the ones driving.
Exactly.
And I think it really speaks to, how organizations like the CCSBA are changing. They're not just industry groups anymore. They're leading the way. They're the ones pushing for progress, for innovation, not just in their own little world, but in the community as a whole.
Yeah, and it's this really cool example of how when you bring together business and technology, but then you add that social impact piece.
Right.
It can be really powerful. It can really create something meaningful.
For sure.
But I know for some people listening, they might be like, okay, this is awesome. Where do I even start?
Yeah.
So for that person, what would you tell them?
Honestly, I'd say just go check out their website.
Okay.
They have a ton of information there. Everything from the programs they offer to, how to become a member, what events they have coming up. It's a great resource, honestly, for anyone who's interested in the cannabis industry in Connecticut, whether you're, an entrepreneur yourself or just curious.
Yeah. And don't forget about that fundraiser.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
November 3rd, Illicit Brewing Company.
Free food, drinks.
Yeah, all that.
Raffle prizes.
Meet the people who are making it happen in Connecticut.
Exactly.
Who knows? Maybe you'll be inspired to start your own business.
Right.
Or at the very least, you'll learn something new.
Yeah, you'll walk away did you know what this Cannabis GPT?
Exactly.
Let me tell you all about it.
Right. You'll be the hit of your next party. But in all seriousness, what the CCSBA is doing, it really makes you think.
Yeah.
What other industries could benefit from this kind of approach?
Totally.
Where else can we be using technology, not just to, do things more efficiently, but to actually empower people and make things fairer? It's an exciting time. Who knows? Maybe we'll have Time Machine GPT next.
Right.
That would be something. But until then, I think, you know what? Everyone listening, go check out the CCSBA's website.
Yes, do it.
Its website address. And tell them we sent you.
That's right. The Deep Dive sent you.
That's right. All right. Until next time, everyone.